The light bowgun is a pretty versatile ranged weapon, and, like all ranged weapons, it requires a bit of knowledge of the inner workings of the game to really understand what you're supposed to be doing. Personally, it took me a long time to wrap my head around ranged weapons, because I could never be too sure I was using it properly. Anyone can pick up and use the bowguns, but to really excel, you need to know the weak spots of the monsters, as well as what element they're weak to, so you know where to shoot and what to shoot it with. Then you can pick the right gun and bullet for the job. Being a ranged weapon, you don't need to worry about sharpness. Unlike the bow, you will have to load your shots before and after firing them. Also, unlike bow, there are reload speeds and recoil to consider. Depending on your bowgun and the bullet you're using, your shots can have a faster or slower recovery after firing, and the reload may be quicker or take longer. Fortunately, you don't need to charge your shots like you do with the bow, which makes the bowguns less dependent on stamina usage. Taking shots is a simple matter of pointing and shooting whenever you want to. You won't run out of time because you ran out of stamina, for example. Just like bows, if you want to unload your gun, you can do it instantly, but loading it requires an animation. Unlike bows, you always want your gun to be loaded, otherwise it can't be fired. You can check your ammo and still have your gun be loaded if you land on whatever you had loaded originally. This also works for bows. Why am I mentioning that here instead of the bow video? Light bowgun is a very mobile weapon compared to heavy bowgun, though you'll be trading that mobility for a bit of power. You can still deal quite a bit of damage with this weapon though. Think of this as the sword and shield, and the heavy bowgun as the greatsword. Bow is maybe somewhere in the middle. Light bowguns are, if I understand correctly, the kings of applying status effects. Each shot applies a set amount of status buildup, giving you a guaranteed status proc as long as you count your shots properly and don't miss. This makes them incredibly powerful in multiplayer, being able to lock down the monster whenever you want. Combined with traps, you can spend a big chunk of the hunt where the monster is completely incapable of fighting back. Fortunately for the bowguns, the only thing you need to consider for your damage is what bullet you're using, how far away you are, and where you're hitting the monster. There are no charge levels or coating bonuses. The main complexity with bowguns lies in the recoil and reload system, which I'll touch on briefly later. And of course, since you're using a gunner weapon, you'll be using gunner armor, which has more elemental defense but less physical defense than Blademaster armor. This means you'll be taking more damage in general, so you'll have to be more careful. The light bowgun may not be the best weapon to start the game with. It's easy to get lost in all the numbers and information, but once you get over that initial hurdle, it's not too terribly complicated either. I recommend that you stick with it if you like how it looks or feels to use. That being said, I also encourage you to experiment. If light bowgun really isn't working for you, pick a different weapon. There are 12 weapon classes to choose from, 9 melee and 3 ranged. Try them all. If you want to be a good gunner, you'll need to do a bit of research to find the right gun, the right bullet, the right armor. It's more satisfying that way. To some people, at least. Let's go over the controls for the bowgun first, then I'll talk more about the weapon during a hunt with Great Jaggi. The weapon and armor I'll be using can all be bought from the equipment shop, next to the smithy, across from the item shop. Press triangle to unsheath. Press square to sheath. Sheathing is very fast for light bowgun, even faster than the bow. This is notable because it can help you be much more mobile in general, especially compared to a heavy bowgun, which has a sheathing animation that's almost twice as long. Press R plus triangle plus circle to unsheath into a reload. Press triangle while unsheathed to reload your gun. Press select while unsheathed to do a melee attack. This move is mostly useless, but it can build up exhaust and KO. I guess you could hit small monsters with it, but unlike bow, you can just reserve some pellet shots for that instead, assuming your gun can use those. Press X while standing still to do a back hop. Press X while running to do a roll. You can back hop 2 times in a row as long as you have enough stamina for it. Your second hop can be directional, either left or right. This is honestly really strong. It's worth noting that after doing a single back hop, you cannot roll forward right away. Trying to do that will just back hop again. You can also side hop after firing and melee attacking, allowing you to do that twice in a row. Again, very strong. Back hopping can be useful to gauge critical distance like with the bow, but from some small testing, critical distance seems to be much less of an issue than with the bow. I can get the same damage up to 7 back hops away from a gargoyle with normal shot level 2, which is the most common bullet you'll be using. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but don't worry too much. As long as you're close enough to your target, you should be in critical distance. The only shot type that should really matter for that is pellet shots. Press circle to fire a bullet. If you press circle without any ammo loaded, your character will play a funny little animation that will lock you in place and get you killed if you're not careful. So be careful. Press R to go into aim mode. Unlike bow, this is a first-person view. You can move the view with the analog stick or the D-pad. You can't move while in this mode, but you can still roll or back hop if you need to. It may be easier to be more accurate since you can aim with the analog stick with this mode. If you hold R, you can go into a third-person aiming mode. You can move while in this mode, but it may be harder to aim. It's up to you. In your options, changing sight type to 2 will allow you to either tap or hold for each aiming type. Type 1 will only allow you to do the first person view, and Type 3 will only allow you to do the third person one. Picking 1 or 3 will remove the slight delay where the game is trying to figure out if you're tapping or holding the button. For camera type, I'm not sure what the difference between Type 1 and 3 are, but Type 2 will prevent your camera from zooming in while using the third person mode, if you'd prefer that. Now, about the bullets. I don't really want to go into the damage and reload and recoil stats of each bullet. That would take too long and is beyond the scope of this guide. So instead, here are some cheat sheets. You can find these in the description as well. Besides that, normal shot level 2 is your bread and butter shot. You should basically always bring it, assuming your gun can use it. Everything else is a bonus. Here's something you can try. This bowgun can use sleep ammo. You can use that with some large barrel bombs to do a lot of damage to Great Jaggi right at the start of the hunt. It can help it go a lot faster. The first hit a monster takes that wakes them up is multiplied, and barrel bombs do explosive damage, which ignores hit zones. Give it a try, but I won't be doing that. The barrel bombs can be pretty expensive, on top of already needing to buy the ammo. Let's talk about bullets before we take down Great Jaggi. Just like with the bow, we can find information about our bowgun by going to the equipment details section of our pause menu. The pages you want to look at here are 1, 6, 7, and 8. Page 1 will give us information about our bowgun's damage and affinity, as well as its reload, drift, and recoil stats, as well as whether or not it has any additional parts on it like a long barrel or silencer. Pages 6 through 8 will let us know what bullets we can use. There are many types, and I'll briefly go over them now, and this will double as a section to refer to when I later cover heavy bowgun. As before, you can find more information about these bullets in the description. Normal is what you'd expect. Level 1 is pretty weak, level 2 is your standard shot, and level 3 is strong but specializes in that it will split apart upon impact. On top of being more expensive, level 3 shots are best used in a way that the shrapnel from the initial impact can hit another part. Pierce shots are what they sound like. They will pierce the monster. Each level will pierce additional times but not increase the speed of those hits, meaning that if a monster isn't long enough, not all of the hits will actually connect, and your damage will be wasted. Great Jaggi isn't a great choice for pierce, since it's so mobile that it'd be hard to shoot it in a way where the bullet will travel down the full length of the monster. Pellet shots act like a shotgun in a cone. As long as your target is within that cone, it'll hit the target. From what I can tell, you can't make it do more or less damage. You either hit them or you don't. Just make sure you're close enough. Crag shots are like a sticky grenade. They're actually called sticky shots in World, Rise, and Wilds. They will hit a monster and explode after a short delay. The initial hit doesn't do that much damage, the explosion does, and it does fire damage as well as far as I'm aware. Cluster shots are a shot that spreads out little bombs on impact, dealing explosive damage, which will ignore hit zones. Crag and cluster shots usually have a lot of recoil and slow reloads, and, generally speaking, you're very limited in how many you can bring with you. They're your most powerful single shots, so make them count. Recovery and Demon and Armor shots are meant to be used on other players. From what I can tell, Recovery 1 and 2 will heal as much as an herb and a normal potion, and Demon and Armor shots will give the Might and Animate buffs. You can't use these on yourself. All of the status shots work the same, just with their respective ailment. Level 1 will inflict 25 status buildup and level 2 will inflict 50. These will usually have pretty high recoil and slow reload speeds. All of the element shots work the same, just with their respective element, except for dragon shots, which work like a pierce shot and have higher recoil and reload speeds. If I understand correctly, elemental shots will scale off of your bowgun's damage, which is potentially really nice, as other weapons have the elemental damage listed separately. Just keep in mind elemental hit zones are usually much lower than physical ones. Trank and paint shots are available on all bowguns and do what you might imagine. The trank shots can be used instead of trank bombs to tranquilize a monster once they're trapped in order to capture them. The paint shots can be used instead of paintballs to paint a monster and track them on your map. The main downside to these ammo types is that you need to load them and deal with their recoil, but you should use them if you really want to. I typically prefer using the item versions of both, even when I'm gunning. Slicing shots are new to the 3rd generation, and give gunners an option to cut tails off. They work similarly to crag shots in that you fire them at a monster, and after a short delay, a flurry of slashes will hit whatever part it was stuck in. Ideally you hit a monster's tail, but it can be good for damage as well. So, let's look at what ammo types our bowgun of choice can use. The one that can be bought from the weapon shop next to the smithy, across from the item shop. Normal 1 and 2, Pierce 1, Pellet 1, Crag 1, Recovery 1, Poison, Sleep, and Exhaust 1, and Demon and Armor shots, along with Trank and Paint shots. The number listed under the level of shot will tell you how many of that shot can be loaded at one time, so we can load 4 normal level 1s or 5 normal level 2s for example. And finally, very importantly, light bowguns in particular can rapid fire some shots, which you can see on page 8. In our case we can fire 5 shots of normal shot level 1, Rapid-fired bullets will deal less damage per bullet than usual, but will only use one bullet per volley. Generally speaking, you will be doing more damage per volley if all bullets hit, but you'll be left pretty wide open due to needing to stay still to fire all of the bullets, so only do this when you're in a safe enough position to do so. Along with this, bowguns, both light and heavy, can be upgraded by spending some money at the blacksmith. The light bowgun can use a silencer or a long barrel. The long barrel will increase the damage by some percentage, meaning the higher your damage is, the more the long barrel will increase it by. The silencer will reduce your recoil by 1 level, which can be very useful and is usually what I'd recommend depending on what type of shots you use. It may also make monsters notice you less often in multiplayer, but I don't know how that works exactly. As an optional upgrade, you can also add a zoom scope to your bowgun, letting you zoom in and out when aiming. This isn't really terribly important, so it's up to you whether or not you want to use it, and like with all weapons, you can spend an armor sphere to upgrade its attack one time. This upgrade does not stay when you upgrade the weapon itself, and the type of armor sphere required will change, likely depending on the rarity of the weapon. Okay, it's Great Jaggi time. As always, take useful items from the blue box. Great Jaggi should start in Area 5. We can get there through the shortcut and camp to Area 7. Don't forget to load your bowgun before entering Great Jaggi's nest area. You should probably load the pellet shots that take down the smaller monsters first. While not totally necessary, I'd recommend taking out the Jaggi and Jaggia before focusing on Great Jaggi. Pellet shots work really well for this. Try to hit Great Jaggi too if you can, but don't worry too much about being efficient. Those are some great shots. You can see how useful pellet shot can be against groups like that. When using pellet shots, you don't really need to aim that much, just point yourself in their general direction. Focus more on not getting hit. Not having to aim is a big part of why it's so useful against groups. Now that all the minions are dealt with, we can focus all of our attention on Great Jaggi. Here's a tip when aiming in any game, not just Monster Hunter. Aim it where your target will be, not where they are. Crosshair placement is the most important part of good aim, followed by good movement. You can get good crosshair placement by having good map knowledge, monster knowledge. If you know the monster spins twice, aim it where your target will be after the second spin. In Monster Hunter specifically, firing will leave you vulnerable, so knowing when to shoot is just as important as knowing where to shoot. Paying attention to your ammo count is also very important, as firing with no ammo will leave you even more vulnerable. Same with reloading. Treat it like using an item, only do it when you're safe enough to do so. I'd like to mention that I'm not a very good gunner, and I don't know all there is to know about gunning, so hopefully what I've laid out here is sufficient. There's some stuff I missed or glossed over that hopefully isn't too bad. Like how ammo that can be rapid fired has a green diamond behind the bullet when selecting ammo. Anyways, Great Jaggi is now enraged. Enraged monsters will usually move faster and do more damage. Great Jaggi summon more Jaggi and Jaggia as well. I'd recommend you take care of them first, like last time. That was so quick you might have not caught it, but I started the unsheath reload right before entering the transition area, which skipped the animation. The unsheath reload has your character move forward a little bit, and bullets are loaded the instant you start a reload, so if your animation is interrupted by something, like a monster roar, you'll still get the full reload. Reloading through an area in transition requires a decent knowledge of where these transitions are, and maybe a little luck. I'd say it's more of an advanced technique, so don't worry about trying to get it down right now. I just want to make you aware of it, that's all. Great Jaggi is limping now. The smartest thing to do is just capture it, but I'll finish the hunt for the sake of the video. Remember, we are given a shock trap and tranquilizers, so use them if you want to. I knew Great Jaggi would have backup here, but I didn't realize I took so long that Great Jaggi already fell asleep. When sleeping, monsters will regenerate their health, so you usually want to stop them from doing that. I don't think they'll ever regenerate their entire health pool, but they may rest enough to make a capture fail. Basically, again, the smartest thing to do is probably either wake Great Jaggi up and then clear out the small guys, or trap and trank him. To me, the ranged weapons used to feel a bit weak, like you're not even sure if you're doing damage. That's why I thought it was important enough to explain the finer details of the mechanics. Ranged weapons are definitely not weak, and if you like the playstyle or the vibe of the weapons, I encourage you to use them more, and you'll find out just how strong they really are. That being said, if you're ever up against a fight that feels harder or unwinnable, that's your opportunity to try something new. A new gun, a new strategy, a new armor set, a new weapon type. Eventually, you fail enough times, you'll find the strengths hidden in your pile of options. You'll become a better gunner, a better hunter. Next time you come up against a familiar problem, you'll know that you can push through, that you can rely on what you know, and learn a bit more about what you don't. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't give up. Keep trying new things. Find what works for you. You got this. I recommend you hunt Grey Jaggi a few times and make his full armor set and upgrade your light bowgun to the Jaggied Fire. That will be one of the best weapons and armor at this point in the game and will set you up for success. Take your time, be patient with yourself. If you like how light bowgun plays or looks but you can't seem to land your shots, just stick with it. You'll get the hang of it eventually. Until next time.